Hello, lovely viewers. You are most welcome to our channel Poetry Online. In this video, we shall be presenting to you the summary, analysis, and major themes of the novel Grief Child by Lawrence Darmani. Kindly subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get updates on all our new videos. Once again, let us assure you of a very interesting discussion. Get ready for this lesson. Lawrence Darmani is a seasoned Ghanaian writer, novelist, poet, and publisher. His first novel, Grief Child, won the Commonwealth Writers' Prize as the best African book from Africa in 1992. He writes devotional articles for Our Daily Bread, which touches the lives of many Christians around the world. He is the editor of Step Magazine and the CEO of Step Publishers. Some of his famous works include the following: Grief Child, Blood Invasion, Entertainment Night, First Term Surprises, One for the Road, Just Between Us, Second Term Expectation, and Third Term Challenges. And today, we are going to discuss his novel, Grief Child. Let's start our analysis by looking at the major characters in the book. Once you read the book, you will come across the following characters: Adu, the protagonist; Nimo, father of Adu; Ama, Adu's later lover; Goma, Adu's aunt; Yaro, Adu's friend; Mansa, Gome's friend; Ofori and Becky, benefactors of Adu. Minor characters: Ya, Adu's sister; Brago, Adu's mother; Apia, Nimo's friend; Mahama, Nimo's laborer; Yabua, landowner; Boy's mother, Apia's wife; Anani, Adu's school friend. Let us take a summary of all the chapters of the novel, beginning with Chapter 1. Grief Child, Chapter 1. Sasso is a little village surrounded by tall trees. At one night, when the village was fast asleep, Adu hears the barking and howling of dogs. At midnight, when Adu was asleep, he had a nightmare, that is, a terrible dream. In the dream, he is being chased by a fierce leopard amidst hearing voices. On his bed, he struggles and screams, and this alerts his father to wake him up. Adu recounts the dream, and he becomes afraid and confused. His mother tries to allay his fears. Nimo, the father of Adu, becomes worried as to why his family totem is seeking to kill his son. He then thought it wise to see Yaro for spiritual assistance to pray for his son. Yaro is a friend to Adu. Grief Child, Chapter 2. Yaro is a farm laborer and is working on the farm alone. He is tired from weeding. His waist and back aches. Yaro's appearance is quite humorous. He's a skinny man with red eyes, and because of that, both children and women of Sasu used to mock him. On the farm alone, he thinks about the chat he had had with his friend Nimo the last day. The chat about Adu, his young friend, who was being chased by their family totem, a leopard in a dream. Nimo had asked him to pray for his son. As he thought, his mind shifted to Walewale, his hometown in the north. Adu visits Yaro in the farm, and they have a chat. Yaro asks Adu to roast some staples in the fire. Yaro again thinks about Adu's dream and resolves to pray for him. Grief Child, Chapter 3. It is weekend, Saturday precisely. Adu will not go to school, and so he gets prepared to accompany his father to the farm. Adu follows his father to trek 2 miles to the farm. At the rice farm, Adu grows in appreciation of the amount of work his father and Mahama, their farm laborer, had done. The crops on the farm were growing well. Birds, however, were causing harm to the crops, especially the rice. Nemo then raises concern that the farm should be guarded. Adu becomes pleased with his father's consent because he enjoys keeping watch on the farm with Mahama, their laborer, and sometimes with his sister, who is called Ya. Grief Child, Chapter 4. Together with his father and the farm laborer Mahama on the farm, Adu gathers firewood and sets fire. Adu admires the work done by his father and Mahama, and so, joining them, he picks a hoe and starts weeding. Nemo advises Adu to always start work early because the sun is too hot. Adu's father tells him to work hard because hard work does not kill. Mahama agrees with his master on this advice. They all agree that hard work pays. But Adu calls to mind a tale he was told in which a hard-working character was cheated. As if Adu's father knew what Adu was thinking about at that moment, he speaks about the truth, always standing supreme even when it is suppressed. Sometime later, Adu's mother and his sister arrive on the farm. The men are tired somehow, but they pretend to be strong still because women are not supposed to see men tired. The day's work comes to an end, and Adu asks his father why their village is called Sasu. As Adu recounts the story behind the name, he calls to mind that every 10 years, something very bad happens to him. Grief Child, Chapter 5. Adu's aunt, by name Goma, visits his father Nemo. School is on vacation, so she visits with Amma. Adu has long had ill feeling about his aunt, and so, as his father and aunt entered into a conversation, Adu hides behind the father and do some sort of examination of his aunt. The more he examined her, the more his ill feeling grew about his aunt. Sunday came, and Adu went on a preaching tour with his friend Yaro, and Nemo went to the farm to do some work. On returning from their preaching tour, Adu contemplates the attitude of the people they preached to. They were always mocking his friend and called him all sorts of names. But in spite of all the mockery, Yaro persists in visiting the people and preaching to them. Yaro, however, is not worried much. He explains to Adu that although the people mock him, they have open hearts because they ask questions about what he preaches to them. He explains that people who think well about the word of God are people who ask questions. Adu and Yaro continue to chat until they reach home. On reaching home, Adu gets to the kitchen to get some food to eat. But Adu hears his father and his aunt Goma conversing not too loud. His ill feeling about his aunt comes to mind again. He does shifts his attention from the kitchen and gets to the back of the house at the window to eavesdrop on his father and his aunt talking. This is because Adu wants to know what they're talking about. Grief Child, Chapter 6. Adu's aunt continues with the conversation with his father, and she accuses him of neglecting her since their father died. She claims that Nemo had given all his attention to his wife and children, but Nemo let her know that life is not that affluent with him as she thought. He tells his sister that she was having their family home and land all to herself, while he was surviving on someone's property, a cocoa farm. Nemo is plunged into a deep thinking and realizes that his sister has almost always disagreed with him on seemingly unimportant issues. Nemo remembers very well that he has helped his sister in some considerable ways after her husband died, but his sister was still not satisfied with him. Or was it because he was not able to cure her of her barrenness as a herbalist? Adu eavesdropped on the conversation between his father and his aunt behind a window, and unfortunately for him, he is being spat on by his aunt unknowingly. Adu asks his mother why his aunt is angry with his father. Boy's mother visits Birago. Yabua arrives at the village, and Nemo's sister hurries to leave with Amma to Buama. Amma dislikes the idea, but she has no choice. Grave Child, Chapter 7. Apia is returning to farm, and when he is about to reach the home, he spots some boys in his garden trying to steal oranges. Adu is one of them. Apia picks a cane and follows Adu to his house. Apia wants to punish Adu, but Nemo, Adu's father, does not allow him, saying that Apia had already punished the boy. In the evening, whilst preparing supper, Ya asks her mother whether it is right to inform someone whose property is being stolen. That was a shadow cast on what had happened between the boys and Apia, in which Adu was a culprit. Adu gets irritated that his sister was indirectly referring to him. Their mother, the experienced Birago, comes a dispute with the story of a tortoise, rope, and bed. Birago ends the story, and Ya confesses that she has seen Adu and some other boys trying to pluck Apia's oranges. If she had warned them, Apia would not have come there to grudge with her father. Grief Child, Chapter 8. Nemo heals Yaka with herbs, and Adu looked on. Nemo is a herbalist. He treats people with herbs for free. Nemo was taught how to heal with herbs by his father. After Nemo had healed Siaka, Adu accompanies his father to the bush to gather leaves, roots, and tree barks. Because Nemo heals people for free, the whole village of Sasu flocks to him for treatment. Adu makes it known to his father that one day in school, he treated a colleague's bleeding wound and he was in turn rewarded. Adu's father warned him not to accept payment for treating people. Nemo and Adu meet Apia, and Nemo greets Apia cordially, and Adu gets irritated by this. Apia used to quarrel with his father, and so why should his father greet him? Nemo, however, explains to Adu that he and Apia are not enemies, despite the fact that they quarrel often. 1 week later, Siaka and his father came to Nemo's house to offer a cook for Thanksgiving, but Nemo seriously rejects the offer. In the same chapter, Nemo heals Apia's wife, who had been bitten by a snake. Grief Child, Chapter 9. This chapter begins with a natural element, a rainstorm. It is evening, and it begins to rain cats and dogs. Birago is in her bedroom, and she calls to mind the legend of the sky, which she most at times tells her children. She also thinks about the relationship between her husband and his sister. She could not fathom the cause of their deteriorating relationship. She feels sorry for the two. Then, her attention shifts to the rain. Ya sleeps and murmurs in her sleep. Birago hears the murmur and dismisses it as a mere sleep talk. But the talk continues, and she could clearly hear what her daughter was saying this time round. She then wakes her daughter up and tries to find out what the matter is. The next morning, Nemo and Mahama goes to the farm. Birago and her daughter Ya get up to prepare after them. Ya's hair is unkempt, and this caused Birago to remember the dream she had last night. She saw someone pluck a handful of her daughter's hair. Birago then gets frightened by this dream. The fear causes her to close her eyes. When she opens her eyes, she sees a figure standing at the doorway. She screams in fright, with a dream still impacting on her. But the figure is not any mysterious thing after all. It is Boy's mother, who is passing by to greet her. Ya then gets to know that all is not well with her mother. She is determined to find out what the matter is. Grief Child, Chapter 10. Birago and Ya are on their way to the farm to gather firewood. Ya intends to ask her mother some questions. Birago herself was thinking about Ya's sleep talk and the dream she had. Birago tries to fathom the meaning of the two and tries to link them. On the farm, Nemo could not tell why his wife was silent. He could see that all was not well with his wife. There is an impending heavy rain. As a result, Nemo and Mahama hurry home. Birago hurried to catch up with her daughter, who was riding ahead. As soon as she caught up with her daughter, Ya, she hears a branch of a tree break. Before Birago and Ya could escape, the tree crashes on them. The tree branch crushed them to death. Nemo and Mahama reach home and waits for the arrival of Birago and Ya. Sometime after, when they do not arrive, Nemo becomes worried. Nemo and Mahama then goes back to the forest to search for Birago and Ya. After they have searched for a while, they see no traces of them. They thus return to the village to get more people to help them. Shortly after, now accompanied by 6 men for the search, Mahama stumbled the dead bodies of Birago and Ya under the fallen tree branch. Nemo, at the sight of his dead wife and daughter, he faints. Upon his return from school, Adu hears the sad story, and that plunges him into an inconsolable emotion of tears. Grief Child, Chapter 11. In black mourning cloth, Nemo sits in his room. His sister Goma and Ama are with him. There is a long span of silence. Nemo finally asks his sister why it has taken her so long to come to the funeral of Birago and Ya. Goma explains why. She makes it known to her brother that she will leave the following week. Yara visits Nemo and consoles him, and asks him to trust God to control issues. A month after the funeral of Birago and her daughter, the friend of Birago, Boy's mother, could still not contemplate the sad end of her friend and her daughter. The matter was actually beyond her comprehension. She could not at all understand why good people like Nemo suffer such great loss. He who has healed many people free of charge should not have lost his wife and daughter in that tragedy. While thinking on the way, Boy's mother makes her husband appear. He was also preoccupied with his friend Nemo. At almost the same time, Adu is in his friend's room. He is sitting in Yaro's room, thinking about the death of his mother and sister, and why God didn't save them. But Yaro tries to explain to him why God does not allow, or why God allows certain things to happen. Yaro tries to convince Adu that he will one day see his mother and sister again. Adu weeps. Grief Child, Chapter 12. 2 months had passed since the death of Nemo's wife and daughter. Nemo still harbors the pain of losing these dear ones. Nemo has been to his farm only twice within the 2 months after his wife and daughter died. But now it is a rainy season. He decides to visit the farm with Mahama, but he later decides to go with Adu, his son, instead of Mahama. The swampy area of the farm where the river is flooded, and so they decided to cross a long and narrow log bridge to the other side of the river. Adu loses his balance halfway on the bridge and falls into the river. His father dies after him and saves him from drowning. As he got Adu back onto the log bridge, Nemo loses his own balance and struggles to hold onto the log. Adu tries in his own young ability to help his father out of the water, but another tragedy in his life struck before his eyes. His father drowns. In panic, Adu runs to the village, crying for help. People dash to the river to save Nemo, but it was only his dead body that they got out of the river. The whole of Susa village is confused. No one, not even the oldest person in Susa, remembers a tragedy befall a family this way. It was a total new occurrence in the dreamland. Many people got scared. Mahama, fearing that he was going to be the next victim, makes his mind up to leave. Apia tries to convince him to stay, but nothing could cause Mahama to reverse his decision. His mind was actually made up. Yaro prays that God himself would take care of Adu, and he does his best to console his friend Adu. Among the most worried are Apia and his wife. The wife of Apia offers to take Adu and provide for him. Nemo's funeral is organized by his sister Goma. 30 days after the funeral, Goma decides to leave Susa instead of 40 days as custom demanded. Goma leaves Susa for Buama together with Adu and Ama. The whole village was plunged into an emotion of sorrow when the three got to the train station and the people waved them goodbye. Grief Child, Chapter 13. The train pulls to a stop at Sasu station and the three, Goma, Ama and Adu, got on board. Adu gets to the window of the train and stares at the village in doubt of ever seeing Susa again. His mind then shifts to his father, mother and sister. Ama realizes that Adu is sad and so she engages him in a conversation. Upon arriving at Buama, Adu tours the family home. The following night in Adu's room, Goma visits Adu and spells out his chores to him, stating that she doesn't like lazy people. She also makes it known to him that he will be joining Ama in school. It is here that Adu deepens his conviction that his aunt doesn't like him. After 6 months, Adu begins to get used to his new environment, but his sadness continues. Adu is enrolled in Buama Primary School. In his class, he becomes a friend to his class prefect, who is called Anane. Adu, being new in town, Anane, his friend, takes Adu on a tour of the town one afternoon. Upon returning home late in the evening, Adu gets reprimanded by his aunt. Adu is a person who always thinks about issues well, and so, that night, Adu preoccupied his thought with his aunt's behavior and realized that his aunt had always picked on him over little issues. It is here again that his fear of his aunt increased and got convinced that his aunt hates him in connection with his father. Grief Child, Chapter 14. Adu and Ama gets to school late. Adu, trying to avoid punishment, sneaks into the classroom. His friend Anane, the class prefect, is writing names of latecomers, and he pretends not to see Adu. One of the boys in the class, who is a bully by name Charlie, confronts Anane and asks him to include Adu's name to the latecomers. Anane does not want to agree. The class teacher, Ofori, enters at this time. The teacher collects the names of the latecomers from Anane. The latecomers are 11, excluding Adu. Adu appreciates his friend's favor and shame, bending down his head. The class teacher punishes the latecomers and stresses to them the importance of punctuality. Grief Child, Chapter 15. Adu gets sick and shivers in his room. For not coming out early in the morning, his aunt rushed to his room, talked to him in a harsh tone, asking him to go to the stream to draw water. Adu tries to be on his feet, but moves uncontrollably and falls. Adu makes a second attempt to get up. His aunt gets back to him in the room and hits him on the head with a fist. Adu's hatred for his aunt increased. It was almost the same time that Adu's friend, Anane, appeared in his house to look for Adu, only to receive humiliating insult from Goma, who drove him away. On his way out, he missed Anane returning from the stream. All Adu could say was to tell his friend to take the lead to school and assured him that he would follow soon. When going through the register, Teacher Ofori realizes that Adu is absent. Adu reports late at a time when Ama had been sent by Mr. Ofori to find out why Adu had not reported. Ama returns with no information as to why Adu is late. Ofori then does his own recollection of Goma when one day he sent Adu to do something for him. Goma had told him never to send Adu on errands again. But despite his own attestation of Adu's situation, Ofori decides to punish Adu just like any other people who came to school late. Adu weeds the school garden as his punishment. Becky Anani meets Ofori and they talk about Adu. The two come to a realization that all is not well with Adu. Ofori describes Adu as a grief child and promises to tell Becky all that she knows about him. Grief Child, Chapter 16. It is evening, and the talking drums sound loud. The town crier follows with an announcement that a royal grave has been looted and valuable ornaments buried with the chief has been taken away, and elders of Buama are asking the people in the town to trace the thieves. Anyone who helps to arrest the thieves shall be rewarded. A day is declared a communal labor day in Buama. Because of that, school people are given a half holiday to do some extracurricular activities. During the activities, Anane is bitten by a snake, and Adu hails his friend, and elders of the village look on in amazement. After administering herbs to Anane's snake bite, Adu asks Mansa to take Anane home. Adu contemplates the affair of the week. Mansa visits Goma, and they have a good chat. Adu wonders if anybody could be a friend to his aunt. Mansa offers some money to Goma for Adu healing her son of a snake bite. Adu protests that the practice of healing with herbs is for free, as his father had taught him. Goma becomes annoyed and beats Adu up. In retribution, Adu tells his aunt in annoyance that he hates her and that he could kill her. The following night, Adu has a nightmare. A leopard tries to kill him and Yaro, but fails in the dream. The leopard later changes into his aunt. Adu tells the dream to Amma, and Amma is scared. Grief Child, Chapter 17. Adu thinks of his recent encounter with his aunt. He is determined to kill his aunt, but discards the idea immediately. But Adu shifts his mind to his bereaved relatives. He is convinced that his father, mother, and sister are resting in their graves without any suffering, and so he thinks about taking his own life. He does, heads towards the stream to drown himself, just like his father got drowned in a river. This, he thinks, will end his suffering. Again, Adu's thoughts shifts to Yaro. He could see Yaro in his mind's eye, standing beside him and answering all his questions. He remembers Yaro's advice when his mother and sister died. He told him that God is able to change the worst situation to something better, and this remembrance of the encouraging words from Yaro stops him from taking his own life. Adu, who is now tired, sleeps under a tree and wakes up to realize that it was deep dark. On his way home, Adu sees two men who are burying something. One of the men is teacher Afram. From their discussion, Adu realizes that they are the grave thieves. They looted the grave of the late chief. When the thieves had left, Adu is tempted to take the precious jewels, but he changes his mind and runs home. Adu's friend, Anani, visits him. He is having a message to tell Adu. Anani will not tell Adu the message until Amma was out of their presence. As Anani wished, Amma leaves their presence and Anani tells his message. It is a secret about Goma and Amma. Amma presses Adu to tell the secret. Grief Child, Chapter 18. Adu tells about teacher Afram and another man as the grave thieves to teacher Ofori, and Ofori is shocked. Adu also tells Ofori about his dream. Ofori believes that Adu is caught up in a spiritual battle. Adu and teacher Ofori visit Motorway to tell him what Adu had seen about the grave thieves. The chief is informed and the thieves are caught. Ofori proposes marriage to Becky and Becky agrees. Teacher Afram and his other accomplice are caught and mobbed. They are later handed over to the police. The crowd doubts whether the police will punish the thieves appropriately. Grief Child, Chapter 19. Adu thinks about a secret about Goma and Amma. Adu tells Amma about a secret. The secret is that Goma is not her mother. Anani had told him that he was told that Amma was not the daughter of Goma. Amma then rushes to Mansa, Anani's mother, to find out the truth. Amma confronts Goma about the secret, and Goma concludes that it is Mansa who has exposed the 14-year-old secret. Goma dashes to Mansa's house to confront her for the betrayal. When she returns from Mansa's house, she finds Amma crying, and moved by that, she promised to tell her the whole story. Amma cries the more. Adu gets out of the house. Grief Child, Chapter 20. The news about the secret spread like a wildfire in Buama. Amma is asked many questions about the news in school. Adu insists that Amma keeps calm and quiet and wouldn't allow her to answer any question. For 2 weeks that the news came out, Amma had lost weight considerably as a result of crying constantly and going on without food. Adu comforts Amma. Apia visits Buama and briefs Adu on news in Susa. Adu gets to know that his friend Yaro and Mahama have gone back to the north. Apia asks Adu to go back with him to Sasu, but Adu tells him that his aunts will not agree. And true, Goma did not agree when Apia approached her on that. Adu tells Apia the secret about Goma and Amma. Goma tells Amma the full story of the secret. Amma cries and leaves Goma's presence. Great Child, Chapter 21. Apia and Yabua visit Goma in Buama. Yabua sees the picture of his dead wife and Amma. It was actually his first time he has given her an attentive notice. Goma and her visitors goes to the chief's palace to resolve the issue of Goma stealing Amma. Yabua thanks Goma and declares that he is prepared to give Goma money for caring for his daughter for the past 14 years. But Goma does not desire any financial reward. Goma asks Amma to choose as to whether she will stay with her or go with Yabua. Yabua gets furious, stating that Amma is his daughter, and so where she will belong is not a matter of choice. Children do not choose their parents. The chief agrees with Yabua. Amma will leave with her father to Abenase and insists that Adu will come with them. Adu tells Amma that he had already resolved to leave Buama for Sasu to live with Apia and his wife. Ofori is transferred to Buama. His friend Ofori and Becky, leaving Buama, plunges Adu into tears. Ofori informs Adu about the chief's willingness to reward him for helping to trace the grave looters. Adu asks that the chief should help him to go back to Susa to live with Apia and his wife. Grief Child, Adu's request for going back to Susa has been granted by the chief. Adu is finally leaving Buama, and the time of his departure tends to be a mixture of relief and grief. Yabua arranged for Amma and Adu to leave Buama the same day. Amma to Abenase and Adu to Susa. At a tearful parting, Ofori advised Adu of a good behavior and also to study hard. Ofori promised Adu that he and Becky will continue to support him. Adu gathers his wherewithal for his journey. Adu and Amma part tearfully. Amma bids farewell to Goma. Goma does not respond, and for the first time, Amma sees Goma in tears. Amma feels sorry for her. Many people, including Ofori and Becky, see Apia, Adu, Amma, and Yabua off the train station. Grief Child, Chapter 23. The train arrives in Susa, and Adu gets to the home of Apia and his wife. Boy's mother hugs and embraces him. Many people come to Apia's house to see Adu. Adu has a hollow feeling in the absence of his family. He enters his empty family house and they start feeling heightened. He cries inconsolably. Boy's mother consoles him. Adu is determined to leave Susa. Apia and his wife try to convince him to stay, but to no avail. Adu leaves Obuama the following day. Ofori and Becky are preparing to leave to their new station when Adu bars onto them. Ofori and Becky take Adu along with them. Grief Child, Chapter 24. 6 months had passed since Ofori and Becky moved with Adu to Nsupa on their transfer. Ofori is almost a father to Adu. Becky finds Adu easy to live with, and Ofori and Becky are happy that Adu no longer grounds in pain over the death of his parents and sister. He now talks about Amma. Adu one day receives a letter from Amma and he shares its content with Ofori and Becky. Ofori, Becky, and Adu visit Buama for the purpose of smoothing the relationship between Adu and Goma. In accomplishing this purpose, Mansa is used as an intermediary. Goma cries uncontrollably. She asks about Amma and she is told that Amma is fine. Adu visits Amma at Abinase and feels much satisfied. Epilogue. After 11 years, Adu and Amma, now grown, are seen strolling. Adu is a happy child now. He is no longer a grief child. He feels he owes a debt of gratitude to Ofori and Becky. Adu feels it was the right time to propose love to Amma. Adu is now a teacher and Amma is a secretary. Adu is also grateful to Yaro. The time for his marriage came and there was no other person in mind than Amma. Adu proposes marriage to Amma and Amma agrees. They hug and kiss each other. It was really their time, knowing that they belong to each other. Major themes. No condition is permanent. What is hidden will come to light. Blood is thicker than water. God protects orphans. Love is stronger than hatred. Thanks for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video.